Why have we as a race not found a solution to the problems that beset us? For example, why can't we solve the problem of poverty? It does not seem that hard, prima facie. We approach the problem from two basic perspectives: we add money or jobs. Both jobs and money seem to be solutions to poverty, but they do not seem to work, and that appears to defy logic. Which suggests the problem is far more complex than most understand, or perhaps, the problem has nothing to do with the actual state we observe. That is, perhaps poverty has nothing to do with jobs or money. Remember, correlation does not mean causation. Pimples are correlated with chicken pox, but they do not cause chicken pox. To better understand what we are up against, think of a group of poor people. We give them a lot of money. Technically, they are no longer poor. But what if they do not know what money is for? What if they live in a place where there are no stores or places of business? What if they gamble it away, or use it to indulge in a drug habit, or they use it to share amongst an innumerable other poor person? They could even use the money to purchase weapons and attack the donor group to take away what the donor group has. Some of these options are more probable than others, but none are beyond the realm of possibility. But what of the morality of what we do? What of the injustice? Often, we are so blinded by the magnanimity of our actions we forget that all we are doing is robbing Peter to benefit Paul, without the slightest guarantee either Peter or Paul will have their lot improved. In other words, we might be doing an evil to try and do a good, but we may actually just be doing two evils to make ourselves feel noble. Creating jobs for the poor follows the same general pattern. The person or government creating the jobs often knows his actions harm one group with the hope of helping another group, but without any evidence that what we do will actually help anyone. If Paul resents being gifted free money taken from Peter, why would he feel better knowing someone has created a job for him? Is a job an unmitigated good? Will the job even be enough to lift the person out of poverty? These questions do not need to be asked because we have decades of experience showing that money transfers and the possession of a job does not eliminate poverty. Poverty is of course largely a relative condition. In many areas of the world and in earlier times, those whom we consider poor would be considered fortunate. Imagine a family living in a two-room house with cattle, horses and other animals, in the 1700s. He would be considered a fortunate person, not poor. The homes people lived in, even as late as the 1800s, would be condemned as uninhabitable in today's developed nations. We have made progress, but can this progress be measured? Ought we to be grateful for the improvements we have made, or can we rightfully chastise ourselves for the things which have remained undone? It is obvious that we have not discovered the key to ending poverty, and without that key we cannot end much or anything else. The evidence of this is that most Western countries will provide free meals, free health care, free education and so on, rather than a decent wage. But why is it so difficult for people to earn a living? It literally makes no sense to have people unemployed or engaged in make-work activities, such as being in public service. The government is made up of people creating jobs for other people in government. They have no choice but to be and remain parasites. The world is a very simple place when it comes to epistemology or the theory of knowledge, because God used logic to create reality. The problem is that the devil co-opted this and created a false division. Instead of good and evil and truth and lies, people choose between bad and worse and my truth and your truth. Even the division between left and right has been corrupted into a choice between two political leaders or one of two entitled economic classes. People do not even think they need to be logical, because they reject the only possible or feasible premise. God exists is the only logical premise. No other proposition makes sense from a logical position. But if we reject God, we have no basis on which to construct a logical worldview. If we reject the proposition that God exists, we are left with only one conclusion, and this can be summarized in the doctrine of human rights. Without God, what do we have but nothing? There is no grounds to make a choice regarding anything, unless someone proposes the claim that humans have rights. Basically, this proposition means that we are entitled and therefore have been given the authority to achieve some desired goal or end. But this is a preposterous claim, pulled out of thin air. What rights have we that are not the rights of anything else? Indeed, if you are entitled, it means that others are enslaved to the provision of what you say you have a right to. A right is an entitlement, and we know creatures are not entitled in nature. Nothing can claim a right to life from nature nor ask for respect or anything else. A creature lives by virtue of its ability to survive. The same is true of us humans. If we are still living, it is because we have been able to ensure our survival. Our life was not given to us as a right. We earned it. But we are told there is something called human rights, and we all possess them. But if we all possess them, who needs them? If we all have a right to our rights, who is obliged to devote their time and resources to providing these others with rights? A right is nothing more than an entitlement, and an entitlement is a claim on the earth. Who determines the nature and limit of these entitlements? Who is expected to take from the earth what the entitled say they have a right to? To have an entitlement is to have power. All entitlements are based on power. If someone has a right to life or an education, someone else has been designated the provider of the entitlements. This is why we need a revolution. The only defense against an entitlement is a stronger rejection. No one can have rights if everyone else is able to push back against the claim. If you reject the concept of human rights, you can return to the law of the jungle. We can all revert to a war of all against all, no one owing anyone anything, or we can adopt the concept of dominion. Dominion is a moral right derived from God. But it is impossible to assign moral rights to a moral people. There is no moral path to giving humans rights. One is not born with rights, and no rights attached to anyone at either conception or at birth. However, not having a right to life is not the same as someone else having the right to take your life. If you do not have a right to life, they have no right to take life. No person has the right to take the life of another. The protection of life does not come from man but from the value of human life. Life has value, and if we want it or want to take it, we have to pay the price. If people do not get paid, they usually will not work. If they do work without pay, it is called volunteering, and while this may solve an immediate problem, it does not add value to the earth. A person who works without pay does not create economic activity. The people helped are helped for the moment, but nothing changes in the long run. As the saying goes, feed a man a fish and you feed him for a day, teach him to fish and he can feed himself. It would be better if we said, teach a man how to be a fisherman and he creates a business and an income for life. This adds value to the earth and enhances the economy. The problem with local currencies is that they favor the buyer. People buy but tend not to sell at the same level. This creates an uncollectible debt for those who did sell. Some places have dealt with this by selling the local currency. The use of the domestic currency, to give the local currency value, tends to defeat the purpose of a local currency. Prefers are earned by adding value to the assets of a community. Everyone that adds value by work is paid in prefers. There are no volunteers. Even housewives and students get paid. It's not as silly as it sounds, as it is just rewarding people who add value to the community. This is how civilization is formed. What is more, it constitutes a peaceful revolution. One can start where they are, with what they have. The pivotal point is the ability of regular people to buy and sell without the mark of the beast. All a person has to do is to link up with a few like-minded persons and decide to help one another while tracking the value of the exchanges made, using prefers. Work is paid in an hourly wage defined by 1 prefer times the wage rate. As people help each other, they earn prefers at the established rate. As they earn prefers, they are able to purchase goods and services from the group. As the group increases in size, more and more goods and services will become available. Poverty, unemployment, debt, taxation and job insecurity is all eliminated. That is a revolution, and you can start it right in your own backyard.